Ah, that's what it do, people. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Back on it. Yes. So today is a new day. And you know what I'm saying? We doing things different. I've been out of the cage for nine years now. This is the longest I've been out since I was 9 years old. Uh Working, got a good job, life keeps, keeps throwing crap at me, I keep blocking and keep pushing and keep, keep going forward. Ain't no waiting around, ain't nobody gonna hand me nothing. I got out with nothing. But that's not true. That's not true because this time I got out with family and now I'm living my best life. This is the longest I've been out since I was 9 years old. People don't understand that, don't mean that to most people, but for me that's a lot, because uh I was my first offense, I was 9 years old. I was in and out of juvenile detention facilities. Then I made my way to the California, well, county jail, and it was on there. I had many trials, many fights, many many issues because I was white. I grew up in the hood, so I joined. Joined the gang early, and this was Crip. And a lot of people, is like, what? This dude is white. He can't be a Crip. And what? But don't judge a book by its cover. Don't let the light skin fool you. And don't get it twisted. Snow is cooler than the polar bear's toenails. Now, all jokes aside, Snowroc is a part of me, but he's not the main part. Right now, we're I'm Joey. Joey is the man you see today. Joey is the man living the best life I've ever lived. I like I said, I've been out longer than I've been out since I was nine. The whole time I've been, working on self, working at the job, working on, trying to be a better me. Because I'm the only one who can get there. Can't nobody do it for me. And I got to a point where, I just wasn't happy with, where I was and what I was doing and how I was living. And if anybody knows, I was in prison majority of my life. I did my first term. I went to prison for 4 years with halftime. I ended up doing 3 years. I stayed out for 7 months and then ended up coming back. And that time I came back for assault with a deadly weapon for a fist fight in Tijuana. It's crazy. I know it sounds like, drag, but I got court documents that prove that they locked me up. I ended up going to trial. I got found guilty of beating up three Navy personnel, and one of them got his jaw broken three places, two teeth knocked out, and a nerve severed in his mouth. The other guy got his orbital broke, and they, it was just all bad. They came in with sailor suits on, and I didn't understand how I was getting charged with assault with a deadly weapon, and my hand was considered a deadly weapon. I ain't never been trained and nothing. I grew up getting picked on, so I had to learn how to fight. At the same time, I'm not a little guy. I'm a big boy. And at the same time, I just got out of prison. So I've been on the weights. I've been, eating good, getting healthy, and working out, machine in motion. And people don't understand. I was look, I had something to prove. Let's just say that. I had something to prove. The whole point, it was, we was coming back from Club Excess in Tijuana, and a white Navy dude called me a nigger lover because I was walking with a black girl. And I was walking with three black girls, and he called me that. Now I'm trying to show off. Ain't nothing else to talk about. So I, start swinging. I hit one dude, then I hit the other dude, then another dude hits me. It turned into a whole little melee. But this was on the Tijuana side. Now we're going across the pier bridge when you cross walk across the border, there's a bridge that you go across. Anybody that's done it, you know what I'm talking about. So we were coming down the bridge, and then this is when, the fight happened. It was on the end of the bridge. So when you go across off the bridge, you cross a street. On that street, there's a yellow line painted on the ground that says U.S. governed neutral zone. They said it happened over there. It was their word against mine. 3 Navy guys against me. No one's going to believe me. It didn't matter. I did it. I didn't, I was trying to hit the dude. I wasn't trying to break the dude's jaw. I didn't have much remorse, because, you ran your mouth. But at the same time, they was drunk. I wasn't, I took advantage of the situation, but it was 3 of them. So, 3-on-1 is fair for me. I don't have to live like that no more. I don't have to deal with being inside of a cage and having somebody tell me when I can eat, when I can sleep, when I can, I don't have to deal with that no more. I still got to go to the job. And to me, mentally, it's like I'm in prison. So when I come home, I come to my cell. My cell is my house. I have a nice cell. I am comfortable in my cell. I'm good. But, I got to go to work because I got to pay for the cell and everything. Man, look, everything is going up. I live in sunny Southern California in San Diego. Man, look, they charging us for the weather out here. Everything is going up. All our vegetables, food, it's getting ridiculous. I don't know. Hopefully it gets better. I don't, see it, but, we got to have hope, right? I'm going to make do no matter what. I'm a survivor. Can't stop, won't stop is my mentality, my life motto. I've been, look, the way I see it, I'm still here. I'm still here. Somebody kept me here for a reason. So I have a purpose. I'm not always sure what that is, but I like to think, I'm here, to take care of my family. That's my responsibility. So I try and do my best. I'm not perfect, but I try. That's all I can do is try. And life is good. Like I'm saying, people don't even know, I get up, go to work 10 hours, that's cool. Cause when I come home, got a beautiful wife, got a nice house, comfortable, the wife keep me fed. Every now and then I get to go outside and play. If you ain't seen, I just did a video with went out to hookah with Hoodie downtown in the gas lamp. It was off the hook. See, now that's not my thing. I'm not into crowds, I don't like, being around a lot of people. That's not my cup of tea. But the fact that I was out there, and it was a gang of my homies, it was a gang of people there, it was cracking. The homie was clowning because, we was out there telling jokes and, he was like, it was just a parade up and down the street. We was out there having a blast. Racito. Yeah, man, peace. Paul X, peace. Thanks for tapping in, Paul. Appreciate you. Oh man, but life, life keeps getting better. All you got to do is keep pushing forward. No matter what, life throws in front of you. No matter, how hard you get kicked in the nether regions, no matter, how many times you fall down, you still got to get up. You still got to keep going. Ain't nobody going to carry you across the finish line. So if you want to get there, you got to get there on your own. It's time to get up. It's time to go. I'm a pusher. I'm trying to make shit happen. I'm tired. I spend a lot of time, sitting around, bullshitting, sitting in a cage, basically. I sat for decades in a cage, just killing time, not even realizing, but at the same time, I'm a sponge. I was raised that way. So I soak up game, I soak up knowledge, I soak up whatever I can get because I ain't fist turn down nothing but my collar. You know, you know what I'm saying, you know, I'm from Southeast, so you know, if you know, you know. Nah, everything, you know what I'm saying, you know, everything is for a reason. And no matter how much, you know, stuff rolls downhill, you still gotta get up. You still gotta keep pushing because eventually you get to the good part of life. You get to the part where I'm here. I'm here. This is for me, this is the best part of life because I ain't never lived this good. You know, my wife takes good care of me. But I got family, you know what I'm saying? You know, I got a grandbaby, you know what I'm saying? You know, new addition to the family. You know what I'm saying? The family's growing. You know what? Man, look, you know what I'm saying? You know, the future is wide open, you know. But that's the thing, it's what you make of it. What do you want? If you want something, you got to make it happen. You know, I'm sitting here, you know what I'm saying, you know, making the YouTube happen. And ain't nobody even watching. I'm out of here. Nah, but I keep on pushing. You know, can't stop, won't stop. You know, I'm a keep pushing, and eventually somebody's gonna. But nah, I got a lot of stuff, you know what I'm saying, you know, your boy been working on, you know what I'm saying? You know, I got the book, you know, I finally got some assistance with that. So that'll be coming soon. I get, you know what I'm saying, you know, get those going, but that still down the line because that's, you know, still, you know, talking. So I don't like, you know what I'm saying, you know, speaking on, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna stop speaking on that and keep focusing on getting it, you know what I'm saying, you know, getting it pushed out. Cause it's been a long time, you know what I'm saying? You know, I do got something else that is smaller and I need to, you know what I'm saying, you know, I need to brush up, see about, you know what I'm saying, you know, getting it out there. But you know what I'm saying, that's the thing, you know, I get my scribble on, you know, I think, hey, Corey, what's up? I see you, bro. Man, appreciate y'all tapping in, you know, out here, you know what I'm saying, you know, living. Man, it's Friday night. What's crack? I know somebody got something. Cause where you at? You going down to hookah with hoodie tomorrow? How's your weekend going? Man, look, I'm off work. It already started. You know what I mean? You know, I'm a happy camper. You know what I mean? But nah, you know what I'm saying? Life is good. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got some fishing plans coming up. Trying to get to the water, give me a pole in, see if I can catch me one or two. But trying to see about taking my little godsons out, man. You know what I'm saying? A little badass. If you know, you know. But nah, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm thinking about taking them out, you know, getting them to catch some fish or something, see if I can get them uh, in the fishing. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's supposed to be hot. So, you know, I'm just trying to find a spot where I can kick back, you know what I'm saying, get some shade, you know, and enjoy the day. And that's the thing, you know, best part of enjoying the day is enjoying it with your folks. That's the best part of the day. So what's up? What y'all got up? What y'all got up for Friday night? I know somebody got something going on. Y'all getting ready? What is going down? What we doing? We going to the beach? What? Who? What? Ain't nobody send me the pin drop. What's the hold up? Y'all bullshit. Okay, give me a thumbs up then. No, man, you know what I'm saying? You know, I got a couple videos I just put out. If y'all get a chance, go check them out. You know, I just did one, you know what I'm saying? You know, I lived in the bathroom in California for 20 years. True story. Sad story, you know what I'm saying? Because I actually lived in California prison cell, which is basically a bathroom for almost 20 years. Not happy about it. Not proud, but you know what I mean? You know, it was an experience. Everything you go through helps make you who you are. And you know what I'm saying? You know, that was part of the training that I had to go through to get to where I am now. Saw the video talking about you beat up through. Yeah, man, that was crazy because like you know, I was raised in the streets. So, you know what I mean? You knuckle up with somebody and that's it, right? You know what I mean? And it's over with. I done got in fights. I done got my ass whooped and I done gave some ass whoopings. Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? You know, I took many of them to learn how to give them, you know, and I took them. I took them. Uh, Two Bone. Thanks for tapping in. Appreciate y'all. So yeah, so the three sailors, right? So I'm coming back from the club excess, and now the homies has been drinking. I don't drink. You know what I mean? Smoked that grass. So I'm high, you know what I'm saying? But I'm getting at some females, you know what I'm saying? So I'm walking with three females, three black women, and I'm walking with them, and a white Navy dude calls me an in lover in front of them. So now, you know what I'm saying? Now here's the background, you know what I'm saying? I just got out of prison. I've been out of prison 7 months. I just did 3 years. I've been on the weights. I'm healthy, 235, 6'3". I mean, solid. So, now I get a chance to show off in front of the girls. Think about it. Any man, you know what I'm saying? That's what we do, right? Show off. So I bank one of them, and the dude said that's when I broke his orbital, the cheekbone. And then I hit the other one because there's 3 of them. So I got to get as much in as I can before I get hit. So I cross over. I hit one, I cross over, and I hit the other one. And it's the third one, he hits me. So we go down, we get to tussling. I jump up, you know what I'm saying? And we squabbing. And then he goes down, But now my homies was behind me, but now they're here. They've caught up and they see me in a fight with 3 white Navy dudes. So these dudes is drunk. You know what I mean? I'm taking advantage. I don't, you know what I'm saying? They were drunk. I don't drink. So, you know what I mean? I got an advantage. So I'm bing, and I'm a big guy and I'm swinging with a little bit of power. So, you know what I mean? The one dude got his orbital broke and the other dude got his jaw broke in 3 places and 2 teeth knocked out and a nerve severed in his mouth. And they charged me with assault with a deadly weapon because I broke the guy's jaw. Man, that's some bullshit. But you know what I mean? That's the thing. At the time, I'm a violent gang member. So they can get me off the streets. They got me, right? So the DA gets at me and he tells me, look, if you help me with some of my other cases, I'll give you a deal. Man, I tell him, you know what I'm saying, to kiss my, and you know what I'm saying, he tells me I'm going to hang you out to dry. So at the time, I'm young and dumb, so I'm like, hang these nuts, And then after, man, you know what I'm saying, after 20 years in the cage, man, let them down. They dry, they done. And finally, they let me out. But no, so I ended up going to trial for that. That was a fist fight in Tijuana. I went to trial, got found guilty. Now, the deal was 9 years with 80%. No. The deal was 11 years with 80%. Now, I didn't take the deal. I went to trial, lost. So now they usually give you more time than they offered you before trial. After you lose, they're going to give you the max. But the judge says, nah, I'm not going to do that because that's dual use and enhancement. So I'm not going to give you the extra 5-year prison prior. So they gave me 3 years for assault with a deadly weapon. And then because it was my second strike, this is doubled. So that 3 turns to 6. So now that's 6 years for the assault with a deadly weapon. And I got another 3 years for great bodily injury. And they were supposed to give me 5 more years. But the judge says, nah, that's too much. So I'm only going to give you the 9. So I go to prison with the 9 years. But then I put in appeal because 9 years for a fist fight? Come on, man. I done got my ass whooped a gang of times. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous, So 9 years for a fist fight, that's still too much in my book. So, I put in an appeal. All bad. Because the first time, there was a dude. This dude was he was a legal beagle. He was, the guy that's in the law library all the time, studying the law books, trying to get his case overturned. So this guy, what? Hell no. Corey, what the hell that say? Hell no. What, man? Hell no. What you mean, hell no? Explain yourself. Nah, you know what I'm saying? So, but true story, you know what I'm saying? If you don't believe, you know what I'm saying, you can always go look up the court documents, you know. So anyway, you know what I'm saying? I was charged with assault with a deadly weapon. I was sentenced to 9 years. I went to prison, put in an appeal, and they gave me 5 more years on the appeal. So I ended up doing 12 years and 7 months off of a 9 year sentence that turned into a 14-year sentence because they gave me the 5 year prison prior that the judge chose not to give me in court. And you know what I'm saying, true story. Uh, uh but I dealt with it. It is what it is. I look at it. I did a lot of dirt. I did a lot of stupid shit. I did a lot of not good stuff. So yeah, I mean, I figured this was karma. What goes around comes back around. This was, you know what I'm saying, me getting back, you know what I'm saying, all that I had put forth into the world. And that was, you know what I'm saying, it wasn't positivity. I wasn't a happy camper. I wasn't I was live. I was live backwards all the time. And if you know, you know. All I cared about was what I wanted. That's all that mattered to me. Didn't nobody else matter? Did nothing else matter? And a lot of people been through situations like this and and might be able to relate, but if not, it's just a different way of dealing with things, because everybody has to find their own path, and you know most just go with the path of least resistance. I don't know. I think I chose the wrong way too many times because I ended up with the not the least resistance. I ended up with the most resistance. But at the same time, I wanted, what I'm saying, at the time when I was young, all I wanted was a name and a reputation. And I understand, the youngsters nowadays, you can't tell them shit because, what I'm saying, are they trying to make a name for themselves? They don't know how to do it. They ain't got no guidance. You know what I mean? Who's out there guiding them? You know, Look, I try, and what I'm saying, I try and give free game as much as I can whenever I can, because it's gonna keep getting harder. And if we don't, what I'm saying, look out for ourselves, our folks, our family, our people, what I'm saying, our community. If we don't, what I'm saying, deal with our community, take care of our community, then somebody's gonna come in and try and take care of it for us. And that's the problem right now. If anybody knows about the situation with my boy Musala, that's some BS. I don't know the whole situation, what I mean, but I'm trying to, what I'm saying, I'm trying to find a way to get down there and get to the courtroom and be there, what I'm saying, to support this man. This man been out there fighting for the damn community, and now they trying to railroad the shit out of this man. You know what I mean? I don't know the whole situation, but I know, what I'm saying, how you going to deny all this man's witnesses and then give the prosecutor witnesses all the witnesses they wanted, and then when his defense attorney, what I'm saying, his public pretender asked, what I'm saying, for witnesses and character references on his behalf, all of those were denied by the judge. What? Where's the fair trial? This is the same shit they did back in the 60s to take away the leaders, take away the people, what I'm saying, this man been out there, what I'm saying, putting himself on front line, what I'm saying, to make sure that the pigs had accountability, that the pigs was doing their job and not going above and beyond like we know they do. Everybody, I'm saying, everybody on my channel, you should already know. Now, I don't, I'm saying, I don't get into politics and all that. That's not my, I'm saying, I don't know enough. So, I'm lost when it comes to that, because for me personally, I try and focus on what matters to me and what I can do something about. If I can't do nothing about it, what's the point of me even, wasting my time stressing over it, worrying about it, or listening to it? I can't do nothing about Trump. Okay, I ain't worrying about him. I'm focusing on what I can do. I'm working hard. I'm trying to, better myself. I'm trying to, upgrade mentally, physically, emotionally. I'm trying to be a better me in every way possible. But that takes work. And, for some, it's more work than others. And, I need a little more work than others because I'm a little more damaged than most. I've been through some things. Nothing, nothing I'm sitting here whining about. I'm living my best life. I got a, I got a small, thriving YouTube channel. I got, friends and family that care about me. I got a good job. I got a beautiful wife. I got the best life. I don't have everything I want yet, but I have everything I need. you know. So, with that, we go, keep on pushing. So who got some? Anybody got a question? Anything? Going once? Going twice? So all right, we're gonna talk about what we've been talking about. What we've been talking about. So the past. The past is over, and that's the thing, a lot of people uh, judge books by its cover. You can't judge every book by the cover because, when people look at me and then, you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute, and then people, it's a trip watching people's, reaction because I'm the same every day, all day, everywhere. I'm not, I don't wear, plastic mask and go around and pretend to be something I'm not. I'm a hoodlum, Southeast San Diego, out here living my best life, trying to, communicate some of the pitfalls and barricades that I went through so that somebody else hopefully, can learn from my mistakes and doesn't have to, go through the same shit I had to go through. So that's where we at. But it's a lot of people, I haven't been through all that much. I my life was rough, but I've looked around. There's people that have been through way more than me, and look, I I bow to you. I'm gonna pray for you. Somebody pray for me. You ever think the things that have happened to you and be like, was I thinking? Well, I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but I know damn well I wasn't thinking. I didn't, like I said, when I was young, all that mattered to me was a name and a reputation. So that was all I ever wanted, and growing up, that was my focus. That was what I was working towards. That was my goal, And I don't know, me personally, other people say this. I don't. A lot of people say I'm like a legend, but I don't see that because I'm just here. You know what I mean? And I figure, I went through all that, and I used to think that, man, I spent all this time, wasted my life just to get a name and a reputation. But nah, that wasn't it. And it wasn't a waste because all the stuff that I went through was a lesson for me to learn so that I don't have to repeat that lesson. Whatever works for you works for you. This is what worked for me because this is a lesson that got me to get out of that revolving door. Because there's a revolving door in California, and when you get stuck in it, J.O. Felony made a song about it. Easy to get in, but it's hard as hell to get out. And that's some real shit. Think about this. My first offense, I was 9 years old. I shot the guy that broke my mom's jaw. Yeah, big bad criminal. Nah, that wasn't it. You know what I mean? Because I continue on. You know what I mean? From there I move up to I pushed my father. My father had an alcohol problem. He drank and what I'm saying, would begin beating on me, my mother, and my sister. So when I got, what I'm saying, old enough to fight back, I started fighting back. And what I'm saying, I took a few ass whoopings from him, but that was normal. So, what I'm saying, I got used to those. But then one day we were fighting in the kitchen, just, what I'm saying, and then he lay down and went to sleep. At first I was scared because I didn't know that is he dead with he just fell down and went to sleep. But now I'm dinged out. I've been hit a few times. So I'm sitting there like, what the hell? And it takes me a while to register. I'm saying, oh, you knocked him out. So then once I realized I knocked him out, okay, usually what do I do now? I don't know what to do. So this is new. So usually when he whoops my ass, he goes to his corner and what I'm saying, I go to mine and it's over. So I went to my corner and what I'm saying, that wasn't it. Because when he woke up, he didn't feel satisfied with that. So he went and got his pistol. And that's when he told his 13-year-old son that you got to get your ass up out of here. And what I'm saying, this was started my life of crime. Because from there, I lived to try doing the canyon thing. That didn't work for me. So, one thing led to another. I'm hanging out in the dope house with the homies and what I'm saying, and the homie, what I'm saying, was like, well, you ain't got no place to stay. You can stay here. You just got to sell this for me. One thing led to another. By the time I was 14 years old, I had my own apartment, and now this is, you got to think about it. This is 85 and 86. And crack is everything. So, I'm not bragging. I'm not proud. You know what I'm saying? I did what I had to do. I was a 13-year-old child surviving on the streets better than some people. Hey, I made do with what, what I'm saying, what I had. And I learned that, what I'm saying, I'm not ashamed of nothing I did. I did that. That's what I did. But I don't have to continue, because it's poisoning our own people. You know what I'm saying? You selling, what I'm saying, poison to your own people. It's, what I mean? This is not, what I'm saying, community shit. This is, what I'm saying, just me trying to, what I'm saying, fatten up my pocket, trying to make sure I have what I need and fuck everybody else. That's a bad way of going through life, because eventually you're going to burn some bridges that you're going to have to turn around and try and cross. And then you're going to be swimming across because, you done burnt that bridge. So what do you do then? Time to step up. So you learn a lesson. Okay, I need to stop burning bridges when I go across them. I might need to come back. It's sound reasoning, but it's up to you. I can't tell nobody how to do theirs. I can only tell you how I messed up mine. Like I said, if I spent over 20 years in the California prison system, I screwed up my life royally. Like I said, but it was a lesson. It was what I needed to go through to get to where I needed to be. Okay, but now I'm here. Now it's time to do better. It's time to do more. It's time to, I'm saying, step up. So that's what I'm doing. And if people don't understand, it's a personal choice. I'm just excuse me. Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated. Anyway, running my mouth too much. But no, like I said, I've been through a bunch of ups and downs and all that, I'm saying, led me, like with the reputation, that was all I wanted. But it led me to believing that I wasted my life just to get a name and a reputation. And then I realized, nah, that wasn't it, because I learned that if I'm willing to do the work it takes, there's nothing I can't do, because I'm the only white boy. I'm the only white boy that ever, walk the line, level one, level two, level three, and level four. And the only one, to be a shot caller for the Crips. Not all of them, just SDC. And I don't brag. I'm not, that's not why I'm here. I'm just trying to tell people, I got what I wanted. And if you want something, you can do anything, but want something better. That's the thing. I aimed low and I got it. Yeah, because I got a reputation. I'm like Bigfoot. I got people, I've heard so many comments or stories about it's people from Virginia that have actually contacted me like, hey man, my homeboy said I was like you, and hey, I appreciate it, but I ain't nobody. I ain't nobody. I'm just still here, you know. Can't stop, won't stop. Just trying to, show somebody that it's a better way to do it than the way I did it. Because that's not the way. I thought I was part of the community, but I wasn't. I was a plague on the community. Now I'm part of the community, and I'm gonna continue to be part of the community. You know what I'm saying? Until I'm laid in the dirt, because the community is what raised me. I was taken in by the community. People don't understand. I was like foster family. People, took me into their house, into their lives. Fed me, helped me, guided me, laced me up so that I could get to where I am now. And I got big homies to this day, that have been there for me. Some of them, to toughen me up, to get me to be able to deal with all the stuff that I had to deal with, because I believe everything you go through prepares you for what you need to go through. So if you're going through something rough right now, then you need to go through that to get to your next level. But you got to continue forward, never stop. A lot of people get complacent. Everybody just wants a drink. Give me some alcohol. Give me a blunt. Give me, give me some scissor. Come on, man, let that shit go. You know what I mean? Because I think that's why a lot of us are falling off. I got people younger than me falling off. You know what I mean? And it's crazy, but it's becoming more the norm. And I don't know if it's the poisons that they're putting in our food, or the heavy metals in our water, or in our food, or in everything else. It's crazy how much that the country has been doing to the people. I didn't notice. The Food and Drug Administration, how come the Food and Drug Administration is allowed to allow these companies to sell foods with poisons to us? But they make the same stuff for other people in like the European Union and other countries. They don't want this poison. It's not allowed, so they won't sell it. So, but the United States, oh yeah, you can sell it to our people here. Bring some more in. Here, we'll take some more. Yeah, here we're giving it away. What kind of shit is that? I don't understand. And then, if you think about it, I know, I found out, that if you live in Texas and you own property, you get a tax cut if you don't grow, if you don't farm. What? Don't we need food? Who controls the food? You say Bill Gates. What? What? The billionaires. The 1%. Don't sound right. We need to start growing our own food. If you have the ability, you need to get on it now. I don't. I am limited. I am a renter. So, you know what I'm saying? I am limited. I do not have enough space to grow what I need for my family. So I am forced to go to work 10 hours a day. But no, you know what I'm saying? I go to work and I got a good job. I got a good job. Company, you know what I'm saying, is the best company I ever worked for. And they take care of me. You know what I mean? I done been through a lot. This company saved my life because they got me fresh out of prison, mentally not all there. And then there was, you know what I'm saying, there was the big boss, the San Diego manager, a guy most people knew him by just the big dog. So the big dog, he was like a mentor because he knew my situation, and he still helped me work with me to get me so that I could become, you know what I'm saying, asset to the company. And the company, I thought, okay, this, you know what I'm saying, I started out through a temp agency for $10 an hour in 2006. And after 2 days, that company gave me an application here, fill this out. You work for us now. What? Okay, well, how much do I put down? I'm making $10 an hour. So the dude said, put down 12. I'm giving you a $2 raise right now. So after 2 days of working, this company gave me a $2 raise and a permanent job. I'm in. But my mentality was I just got out of prison. I was in prison working for pennies. Literally, I was working for pennies in a area called PIA, which most people don't know is Prison Industry Authority. So they're the ones who make the clothes. I worked in a textile mill, and in the textile mill, we made the material for the shirts and for the denim jeans. And they were, you know what I'm saying, the rolls of cloth were made there and then shipped to somewhere else where they, made the cloth into garments. But yeah, so the textile mill, I was in there for like, I think 4 years, and then that closed, and then I went to maintenance. And then I went from maintenance. They needed people experienced. They knew I would work. And so, they needed people in the shoe factory. I didn't want to go in the shoe factory because I was learning more in maintenance. I was learning to weld. So I wanted to stay there where I could, do something that's going to benefit me, not just benefit the state of California, but I was forced into the shoe factory. So, I was in the shoe factory for like 2 years. But PIA was where I learned how to go to work every day. And now, that's served me well because since I've been out, I'm able to just do a little bit and have a little bit, and I'm, what I'm saying, living my best life. Like I said, this is as long as I've been out since I was 9. I still want more. I want so much more. But, I'm not, what I'm saying, I'm not pushing it. I'm more than grateful for what I have because I have more than I've ever had in my life. And life is good, like I said before. But, what I'm saying, it's going to keep getting better. I got so much more coming. And I'm not talking about, what I'm saying, like life owes me or something. I'm just talking about, I believe you speak it into existence if you want something. And what I'm saying, I want a whole lot. I want to own my own home, and I want a compound where I can have, what I'm saying, my whole family on our property where, what I mean, okay, we're all here. You might have your house over there, and our house is over here, and our house is over here. But we got this little piece of land, and all our houses are right here. And when we have a function, it's right here. And when we have problems, we are right here. And then we take care of we. But, what I'm saying, that's the thing. More people need to, what I'm saying, work together and build. Work together and build. What it do? What it do? JC, I see you. Thanks for tapping in, man. What I'm saying, appreciate you. Nah, just talking about life, man. What I'm saying, life keeps getting better, but what I'm saying, no matter what, you got to keep pushing forward. No matter what, because even if you can't get stuck in the rut, because if you get stuck, ain't nobody gonna come and tow you out. Ain't nobody gonna pull you out. Ain't nobody gonna be there to save you. You got to get that motherfucker out yourself. You got to keep it pushing. You got to work. If you want something, ain't no sitting around. I just see my boy, you know what I'm saying? If you ever get a chance, go check out Gangbangers Life Coach, GB Life Coach. Personal friend of mine, we was incarcerated together. Good dude, you know what I mean? He was speaking some wisdom. He was talking about, you know what I'm saying, don't sit around and wait for somebody to hand you something, because you know what I'm saying, before you know it, you know what I'm saying, ain't gonna be nothing left. If you waiting around for somebody to hand you something, you might come up short. But it's up to you. What do you want? I want a lot. I want, you know what I'm saying, man, I want a lot. View of Wisdom, thanks for tapping in. I see you. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I want a lot. I got a couple dream cars I want. I got a couple. If it look, I ever hit the lotto, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have a semi truck and a trailer full of lowriders. And then, so I'm just gonna go to car show to car show. And then, you know what I'm saying, my driver's gonna bring the cars up. And then I just, I'm saying, he'll take them off a trailer, set them up for me, I'm saying, and then I go out, do my thing and play and have fun. And, I'm saying, time to go to another show. And that's, that's just wishful thinking. I know, I'm saying, it all takes work, and ain't no free lunch. So I'm just trying to, I'm saying, trying to spread my hustle. So let me get some thumbs up. People appreciate it. Everybody tap that thumbs up, like it, hit the subscribe if you haven't. I got a whole bunch of videos. I just did one. I was just telling everybody, I'm saying, the name of it is I spent 20 years in a bathroom in California. Yeah, true story. But yeah, I'm saying, life keeps, I'm saying, throwing curveballs, but man, look, I'm swinging. I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? Tip, swing, okay, I'm saying, foul ball, come again. I'm saying, I'm not going to let you strike me out. I'm going to go out swinging, believe that. But nah, I'm saying, I see it's football time again, so they got the Coliseum in full effect. Come and, watch at the Coliseum. Yeah, so it's I guess the Chargers beat KC today. Too bad I'm not a Charger fan. Damn, I know the homies is happy. That's okay. I'm a San Diego fan, so San Diego football. Oh, San Diego ain't got a football team. Oh well, I'm good. No more football for me. Peace. Nah, I'm not hating. I'm just, it's some BS. But whatever works, because if they was paying me millions of dollars, man, I'd be out there on the field busting my yes, sir. When I was a kid, I wanted to play football. I wanted to go to school and play football because, I grew up watching TV. And, I grew up watching, what is it, 8 is Enough and the Huxtables and all these people and how they're going through school and how they have, Saved by the Bell, Head of Class, all these shows, I'm saying, about people in high school. I didn't even get to go to high school. Don't know nothing about it. I went to one school. I ended up getting into a couple fights, and they suspended me in less than 2 weeks. And then second school I went to, I was there for like two months, and then I got into a fight off. This was Hoover High School on Elkhorn Boulevard. So I got in a fight with a dude who was trying to show off and call out the white boy, and he got disappointed real bad and made and embarrassed in front of everybody. So, I whooped his ass and then jumped on the bus to go home. I'm not thinking nothing about it. It's Friday. You know what I mean? I come back to school on Monday. I'm up in the school, and this dude that I'm in my first class, and they come. Somebody tells me they want me in the office. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to the office. Damn, probably because I haven't got none of my books yet. I keep telling them I forgot to get the book, but it's all caps. So now they're giving me the book in the class. So here, you can use this one. So I'm going to the office thinking it's something, you know what I'm saying? And when I get up in there, they tell me to go into the little school police office. So I go in there as soon as I come through the door is open, but they can't see me as I come around the corner. So when I come around the corner into the room, the dude that I got into a fight with on Friday, he's sitting there with his mom. He got on some ponch glasses, like the big mirror, silver like mirror lens glasses. So, and his mother starts going off. That's him. That's him. And then the cop had to literally restrain this woman because she was about to attack me. And so, yeah, long story short, this dude done told everything. So now, you know what I'm saying, the school police, you know what I'm saying, they took the mama into the other room. And now he got me in another room. He comes in here and he's like, so you got into a fight Friday, huh? He's like, look, I know you're on probation. I know you just got out of juvenile camp. I know you're a probation officer. I know that, you know what I'm saying, you don't want to be here. All you got to do is leave my school and don't come back. And I promise your probation officer won't find out about this. Just don't come back. Just don't come back. Don't come on these premises no more. I know your sister still goes here, but you can't come and get her. You can't come pick her up. You can't come on to the school anymore. No problem, Mama. Don't come to school? What? Man, I've been waiting for this. I'm out of here. Out back, I got a stolen car. I don't like riding the bus. I got a stolen car parked behind the school. And you telling me to leave? Oh man, I'm out of here. Can I go get the stuff out of my locker? She's like, yeah, wait. You know what I'm saying? The bell rings after everybody goes to their class. Then they escort me, you know what I'm saying, to go get the stuff out of my locker. And they walk me out the front of the school where I got to walk all the way around to the back to get to the stolen car that I got parked back there. So that was the extent of my education. Nah, not really, because when I went to prison, I got my GED. I also got college courses. I'm saying, maybe I'm about, you know what I'm saying, maybe 12 to 16 credits away from AA degree. Not bragging, just, you know what I'm saying, I was incarcerated and figured I might as well get whatever I can while I'm here. That's after I spent, you know what I'm saying, years, you know, fighting just to survive. Now I know how to survive. So now what do I do? So now I got to feed myself. I got to take care of myself. I got to, I don't have nobody sending me nothing. So I got to hustle. I got to, and I did well. Let's just say, you know what I'm saying, your boy got hustle in his jeans. And and we made do. We made the best out of a bad situation. I'm not bragging about it because it wasn't all happy fun time. But you know what I'm saying, we had some good times. We did some shit. I did some things no one's ever done before in a prison. We if you're stuck in a situation, believe me, you will find ways to make shit happen. If that's all you got, you will find a way. And that's the thing, you'll be surprised what you can come up with, you know. But we, like I said, we made the best of a bad situation because you know what I'm saying, I had homies that drank and you know what I'm saying, making wine. That wasn't nothing, we got to the point where we would take and make wine and then bubble that into white lightning, basically moonshine in prison. And we didn't have the copper pots and all that. So we had to, you know what I'm saying, improvise and make do with what we could. So we did the best we could. And, you know what I'm saying? Literally, you know what I'm saying? I could make alcohol that was flammable from, you know what I'm saying, prison wine. Prison wine, you burn it, boil it, and, you know what I'm saying, catch the vapor. The vapor is the alcohol burning off the wine. So when that alcohol goes up in vapor, it comes back down on as condensation on the anyway, it's a whole process. But you guys don't need me to tell you. uh anyway, so who got something? Anybody got something going once? Going twice? Nope. All right, y'all have a good night. Damn, everybody popping in right now. What y'all got going on? Hey, go check out the videos. I got a whole bunch of them on there. You know what I mean? If you haven't seen one, go watch it. It's some of them are really good. Some of them, I don't get a lot of attention to the ones like I did videos on loyalty, you know, and I got like 100 views. But then I did a video White Crip versus Blood, and I get thousands of views. So you know what I'm saying? What do the people want? Okay. So that's the thing, I try not to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the past all the time, but it's like that's the clickbait. That's what gets people that's what gets people to click. So click, 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 hit that thumbs up. Where y'all at? Y'all sleeping on me? Wake up. All right, somebody there. Nah, so all right, ain't nobody got nothing. I'm tapping out on this one, fellas. It's been about an hour. All right, y'all see you next Friday, 9 p.m. Stay dangerous.